Captain Jiho Kim stared at the green lights dancing across his screen. The Luna Station control room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Outside the thick windows, Earth hung like a blue marble against the black of space. Jiho had been watching the deep space sensors for 3 years now, but he had never seen anything like this. "Mira, come look at this," he called to his partner. Mira Park rolled her chair over from her workstation. Her job was to listen to radio signals from space, searching for signs of alien life. For months, she had been picking up strange patterns. Not random noise, but organized signals that seemed to follow rules. "What is it?" she asked, looking at Jiho's screen. "These energy readings are huge. Something big is coming toward our solar system." Mira felt her stomach tighten. She had been afraid this day would come. The signals she had been hearing were getting stronger each week. They were definitely not human. "How big?" she whispered. "Bigger than anything we've ever built. Maybe 100 ships, maybe more." On Earth, General Taewon Lee sat in the underground command center beneath Seoul. The room was filled with screens showing every corner of the solar system. Reports were coming in from Luna Station, Mars Base, and the asteroid mining colonies. All of them said the same thing. Something was coming. "Sir, we're getting confirmation from multiple sources," said his aide. "Unknown ships approaching from outside the system." Taewon had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was heading straight for them. "Get me the Defense Council on the line. All members, emergency session." Far away beyond the edge of human space, Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship. The massive ship was black as night, covered in sharp angles that made it look like a predator from the depths of space. Around him, dozens of similar ships moved in perfect formation. The Kethvar Empire had been conquering worlds for over 1,000 years. They had a simple system that worked every time. When they found a new species that had just learned to travel between stars, they would send exactly 12 missiles to their homeworld. Not enough to destroy the planet, but enough to kill millions and show their power. Most species surrendered immediately. The smart ones knew they could not fight the Empire and chose to serve instead of die. The few that tried to fight back were quickly crushed and turned into slaves. "Admiral, we have finished scanning the target world," reported his aide, a thin creature with 4 arms. "The species calls itself human. They have achieved basic faster-than-light travel, but their military technology appears primitive." Vextar looked at the data on his screen. The humans had spread to several planets in their system and had built some kind of defense network. But compared to the Empire's technology, it looked like toys. "Standard demonstration protocol," he ordered. "Prepare 12 impact missiles. Target their major population centers." Back on Luna Station, Mira was working frantically to decode more of the alien signals. Her computers had finally broken through some of the patterns. What she found made her blood run cold. "Jiho, I think I know what they are," she said, her voice shaking. "What?" "I've been analyzing their communication patterns, their military signals, battle formations, target assignments, weapon readiness reports." Jiho stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "You're saying they're hostile?" "I'm saying they're not here to make friends." On Mars, Lieutenant Junho Seo was running final checks on his fighter squadron. Mars Base was humanity's first line of defense, and his pilots were the best in the solar system. But as he looked at the sensor readings, he wondered if being the best humans would be enough. "All wings, this is Junho. We've got incoming bogies, size unknown, intent unknown, but I want everyone ready for anything." His pilots were young, but they were trained well. Each of them had spent years learning to fight in zero gravity, to think fast, and to work as a team. They would need all of those skills soon. Dr. Yuna Choi was in her laboratory when the alert came through. As Earth's top expert on alien life, she had always hoped that first contact would be peaceful. Scientists talking to scientists, sharing knowledge and building friendship between worlds. But the data she was seeing told a different story. The alien ships were arranged in attack formations. Their energy signatures matched weapon systems. Whoever these beings were, they had come to Earth for war, not peace. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, looking at her analysis. Why would they attack us? We've never even met them. The answer came from General Taiwan's briefing room where the Defense Council had gathered. Intelligence reports were flooding in from every human outpost. The aliens had been observed conquering other worlds. They followed the same pattern every time. Arrive, demonstrate their power, demand surrender. They're not here to invade us, Taiwan explained to the council. They're here to make us servants. In their minds, we're not equals. We're just another primitive species to be conquered. What do we do? Asked the representative from the Mars colonies. Taiwan looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked scared, others angry. All of them looked determined. We show them they're wrong. Admiral Vextar received the final target confirmation. His 12 missiles were ready. Each one was the size of a city block and carried enough explosive power to level mountains. The targeting computers had locked onto 12 human cities: Seoul, New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Lagos, Sydney, Cairo, Moscow, Mexico City, and the human moon colonies. Fire, he commanded. 12 black shapes detached from his fleet and streaked toward the inner solar system. They moved faster than anything the humans had ever built, leaving trails of distorted space behind them. On Luna Station, every alarm in the facility began screaming at once. Jiho's screens lit up with red warnings as the tracking systems detected the incoming missiles. Mira, get on the emergency channel. Warn Earth. Mira's fingers flew over her keyboard as she sent out the alert that would change everything. Across the solar system, human defenders received the message: 12 missiles, incoming fast, impact in 6 hours. General Taiwan stood in his command center, watching the missiles approach on the main screen. Around him, his staff worked frantically to coordinate Earth's defenses. For decades, humans had built weapons and shields in secret, preparing for this day. Now they would find out if their preparations were enough. All defense stations, this is General Lee. Condition red. All units to battle stations, this is not a drill. The missiles continued their approach, growing larger on the sensors with each passing minute. Behind them, the alien fleet waited and watched, confident that the humans would surrender as soon as they saw the destruction these 12 weapons could cause. They had no idea what they had just started. In command centers across the solar system, human defenders prepared for the fight of their lives. On Luna Station, Jiho and Mira worked to track the missiles and coordinate the defense. On Mars, Junho led his pilots toward their fighters. In her laboratory, Yuna studied every scrap of data about the alien technology. And on Earth, General Taiwan gave the order that would echo through history: light them up. General Taiwan Lee's words echoed across every human communication network in the solar system. From the ice mines of Europa to the farming colonies of Ceres, from the research stations orbiting Jupiter to the military bases hidden in the asteroid belt, humanity heard the message and responded with one voice: war. The 7 days that Admiral Vextar had given them became the most productive week in human history. Factories that had been making civilian goods switched to producing weapons. Mining operations began extracting materials for armor and ammunition. Every human settlement became a military base. Captain Jiho Kim found himself promoted to admiral and placed in command of something he had never known existed: the Prometheus Fleet. Hidden shipyards throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves, and massive warships emerged from concealment like sleeping giants awakening. How long have these been here? Jiho asked, staring at the tactical display showing 37 fully armed battleships. 15 years, replied General Taiwan over the communication link. Ever since we detected the first alien radio signals. We've been preparing for this day. Mira Park was no longer just monitoring alien communications. She was coordinating humanity's response across the entire solar system. Her quantum communication network connected every human outpost, allowing them to act as one massive military force. All stations report ready, she told Jiho. Mars base has launched their full fighter wing. The asteroid miners have armed themselves with mining lasers. Even the research stations have weapons now. Dr. Yuna Choi had spent the week studying the wreckage of the alien missiles. What she found changed everything. The HFY technology was advanced, but it followed predictable patterns. More importantly, it had weaknesses. Their ships use quantum entanglement for communication and navigation, she explained to the War Council. If we can disrupt that entanglement, they'll be flying blind. How do we do that? Asked General Taewon. Quantum scramblers. I've designed them based on the missile fragments. We can build them into our ships and use them as weapons. Lieutenant Junho Seo was no longer commanding a small fighter squadron. He now led the Wraith Wing, 300 of humanity's best, pilots flying the most advanced fighters ever built. Their ships were equipped with new technology based on alien designs, but improved with human engineering. Remember, he told his pilots, these aliens think we're primitive. They expect us to fight like primitives. Instead, we're going to fight like humans, smart, fast, and completely unpredictable. On Earth, the devastated cities were being rebuilt with incredible speed. But more importantly, the survivors were volunteering for military service faster than the recruiters could process them. The alien attack had not broken human spirit. It had forged it into something harder than steel. Admiral Vextar watched, the human activity with growing confusion. Every species the Empire had conquered followed the same pattern after the demonstration. Fear, panic, desperate attempts to negotiate, and finally surrender. The humans were doing none of these things. Admiral, our sensors show massive military buildup throughout their system, reported his aide. They appear to be preparing for battle. Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. What can they possibly hope to accomplish? Unknown, sir, but their communication traffic suggests they have no intention of surrendering. Vexitar studied the tactical displays. The humans had revealed more ships than their initial scans had detected. Much more. Where intelligence had suggested a small defensive fleet, sensors now showed hundreds of armed vessels. Run deeper scans. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. The scans revealed the truth that would soon terrify the HFY Empire. Humanity had not built a small space navy to defend their home world. They had built the largest military force in the galaxy, hidden throughout their solar system and disguised as civilian infrastructure, mining ships that were actually missile platforms, research stations that were actually weapons factories, cargo haulers that were actually troop transports. For decades, every human project had served dual purposes. Sir, the aide said quietly, our estimates show approximately 400 armed human vessels, with more being revealed each hour. Vextar felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Doubt. Back on the human side, preparations continued at breakneck speed. Jiho coordinated the fleet movements from his flagship, the UES Indomitable. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, a kilometer-long battleship armed with weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. Fleet status report, he requested. All ships ready for combat, replied his tactical officer. Quantum scramblers installed and tested. EMP torpedoes loaded. Kinetic artillery charged. Mira established communication links with every human settlement. The plan required perfect coordination across the entire solar system. Mining colonies would serve as supply bases. Research stations would provide intelligence. Even civilian transports had roles to play. This is Admiral Park to all units, she broadcast. Operation Homecoming is now active. All civilian personnel to safe zones. All military personnel to battle stations. Dr. Yuna worked frantically to complete her analysis of HFY technology. The quantum scramblers were ready, but she had discovered something else in the alien wreckage. Their shield generators used a rotating frequency that could be predicted. If we time our attacks correctly, we can hit them when their shields are at minimum power, she explained to Jiho. It's only a few seconds every minute, but it's enough. General Taewon oversaw the entire operation from his command center. Reports flowed in from across the solar system. Every human military unit was ready, every weapon was charged, every ship was in position. 7 days, he said to his staff. They gave us 7 days to surrender. Instead, we used those 7, Days to prepare the largest military operation in human history. Lieutenant Junho and his pilots made final preparations. Their fighters were equipped with new quantum tunnel drives that would allow them to appear anywhere in the battle instantly. It was dangerous technology. One mistake and a ship could be scattered across multiple dimensions, but it gave them an advantage no alien had ever faced. Wraithwing, this is Junho. We're going to hit them fast and hard before they know what's happening. Remember, speed and surprise are our weapons. The alien fleet waited at the edge of the solar system, confident in their superiority. Admiral Vextar had faced hundreds of species, and none had ever posed a real threat to the Empire. These humans would be no different. But as the deadline approached, his sensors detected something that made him reconsider. The human fleet was not positioning itself defensively around Earth. Instead, they were moving outward, toward his position. Sir, the humans appear to be advancing toward us. Advancing? That's impossible. Our fleet outguns theirs 10-1. Yes, sir, but they're advancing anyway. On the UES Indomitable, Admiral Jiho Kim stood on the bridge watching the countdown timer. In 10 minutes, the alien deadline would expire. In 10 minutes, humanity would give their answer to the Kethvar Empire's ultimatum. Open a channel to the alien fleet, he ordered. The communication went out across space, carrying humanity's response to Admiral Vextar's demand for surrender. Kethvar Fleet, this is Admiral Jiho Kim of the United Earth Space Navy. You fired 12 missiles at our home and killed 12 million of our people. You demanded our surrender. You called us primitive. You were wrong on all counts. Around the solar system, hundreds of human ships powered up their weapons and began moving toward the alien fleet. You wanted to demonstrate your power to us. Now we're going to demonstrate ours to you. This is humanity's counteroffer. Leave our space immediately or we will remove you from it. The channel stayed open, broadcasting on all frequencies. You have 1 minute to decide. Admiral Vextar stared at his screens in disbelief. The human fleet was accelerating toward his position. Hundreds of ships that should not exist, armed with weapons that should not work, crewed by beings who should have surrendered days ago. For the first time in his long career, he realized he might have made a mistake. Sir, incoming message from the Empire High Command, his communications officer reported. Put it through. Admiral Vextar, our long-range sensors show massive human military buildup. What is your situation? Vextar looked at his tactical display. The human fleet was now less than an hour away, and his own ships were reporting ready for battle. This was supposed to be a simple demonstration mission. Instead, he was facing the largest space battle in galactic history. High Command, the humans have refused to surrender. They are approaching our position with hostile intent. Approaching? Admiral, you have the finest fleet in the Empire. Surely these primitives cannot threaten you. Vexitar watched as more human ships appeared on his sensors. Each one was smaller than his vessels, but they moved with precision and purpose that worried him. I am beginning to suspect, High Command, that these humans are not as primitive as we believed. The 12 missiles cut through space like black daggers. Each one was bigger than a skyscraper and moved faster than anything humans had ever seen. On their hulls, alien symbols glowed with deadly purpose. Inside each missile, weapons powerful, enough to destroy entire cities waited to be unleashed. Captain Jiho Kim watched them approach on his screens at Luna Station. The numbers made his heart race. Impact time, 4 hours and counting, speed, impossible. Power level, beyond anything in human weapons. Mira, are you getting through to Earth? He asked. Mira Park's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Defense. Command is responding. They're activating the grid. Jiho had heard rumors about the grid for years. Secret weapons hidden all through the solar system. Shields that could stop missiles. Guns that could shoot down ships. No one knew how much of it was real and how much was just hope. I hope it's enough, he whispered. On Earth, General Taewon Lee stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul. Around him, dozens of screens showed the incoming missiles and Earth's hidden defenses. For 50 years, humans had built these weapons in secret. Military bases disguised as research stations, weapon platforms hidden in asteroids, shield generators built into mountains. Sir, all defense stations report ready. said his aide. Taewon looked at the countdown timer. 3 hours and 30 minutes until impact. He thought about the 12 cities in the crosshairs. Millions of people who had no idea death was racing toward them. Activate planetary defense protocol. All stations. Full power. Across the solar system, hidden weapons came online. On the far side of the moon, a massive railgun emerged from what looked like a mining facility. In the asteroid belt, weapon platforms that had pretended to be ore processors revealed their true nature. On Mars, missile silos hidden beneath. The polar ice caps opened their doors. Lieutenant Junho Seo was already in his fighter when the call came. His squadron had been on patrol near Mars when the alert arrived. Now they were racing toward the incoming missiles at maximum speed. All wings, this is Junho. We're going to intercept those missiles before they reach the inner system. His pilots responded with calm professionalism, but Junho could hear the tension in their voices. They were good fighters, but they had never faced alien technology before. No human had. Remember your training, he told them. Stay together, trust your equipment, and let's show these aliens what human pilots can do. Dr. Yuna Choi was in her laboratory, analyzing every piece of data about the missiles. Her computers worked frantically to understand the alien technology. What she found was both frightening and hopeful. The missiles were incredibly advanced, but they followed patterns she could recognize. Energy shields, guidance systems, propulsion methods that were better than human technology, but not impossible to understand. They're not magic, she said to herself. They're just machines, and machines can be stopped. She opened a communication channel to General Taewon. Sir, I think I found something. What is it, Doctor? These missiles, they're using quantum guidance systems. If we can disrupt the quantum field around them, they might lose their targeting. How do we do that? Electromagnetic pulse, but it has to be precisely calibrated to their frequency. Taewon looked at his countdown timer. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Can you calculate the frequency in time? I'm working on it. The first interception attempt came from the Mars defense grid. 3 missile platforms hidden in the asteroid belt fired kinetic interceptors, solid metal slugs moving at incredible speed. The interceptors streaked toward the alien missiles, guided by the best targeting computers humanity had built. Junho watched from his fighter as the interceptors closed in. For a moment it looked like they would hit. Then the alien missiles did something impossible. They changed direction without slowing down, sliding sideways through space as if the laws of physics didn't apply to them. Damn, he muttered. They're more maneuverable than we thought. But the missiles had revealed something important. They could be forced to change course. They weren't unstoppable. All wings, new plan. We're going to herd them into the gun platforms. On Luna Station, Mira was tracking the aliens' communications. The signals were getting stronger, which meant their main fleet was getting closer. But she had also detected something else, confusion in their communications. Jiho, I think we surprised them. What do you mean? Their signals just changed. They're not expecting us to fight back. They think we should have surrendered by now. Jiho managed a grim smile. They don't know humans very well. The second wave of defenses activated as the missiles entered the inner solar system. Hidden railguns opened fire from the moon, sending streams of metal projectiles toward the incoming weapons. Energy shields powered by fusion reactors created barriers of force in the missiles' path. 2 of the alien missiles flew straight into the barriers and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The shields held for a few seconds, then shattered under the massive explosions. But they had done their job. 2 of the 12 missiles were gone. Admiral Vextar watched the destruction of his missiles with growing concern. In 1,000 years of conquest, no species had ever destroyed even one of the Empire's demonstration missiles. These humans had just destroyed 2 and were still fighting. Status report, he demanded. 10 missiles remaining, Admiral. The humans appear to have more defensive capability than our scans indicated. Vextar studied the tactical display. The human defenses were primitive compared to Empire technology, but they were using them cleverly. Instead of trying to match the missile's power, they were using coordination and timing. Interesting, but 10 missiles will still be enough to break their spirit. Dr. Yuna's calculations were finally complete. She transmitted the quantum frequency data to every defense station in the solar system. If her theory was right, a precisely tuned electromagnetic pulse would disrupt the missile's guidance systems. All stations, this is Dr. Choi. Pulse frequency is 847.3 terahertz, fire on my mark. Around the solar system, EMP generators charged up to the exact frequency Yuna had calculated. The timing had to be perfect, too early, and the missiles would adjust too late and they would be too close to Earth to stop. Lieutenant Junho and his squadron were diving toward the missiles now, their fighters straining against the G-forces. Each pilot carried special EMP torpedoes designed for exactly this kind of mission. Target acquired, Junho reported. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Dozens of EMP devices fired at once. The space around the alien missiles lit up with electromagnetic energy, creating a storm of invisible force. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then 3 more missiles suddenly veered off course, their guidance systems scrambled by the pulse. They flew harmlessly past Earth and into the outer darkness, but 7 missiles continued on target, their systems adapting to the human countermeasures faster than anyone had expected. They're learning, Yuna said, watching the data. Their technology is adjusting to our attacks. General Taewon watched the remaining missiles approach Earth's atmosphere. 7 missiles aimed at 7 cities. He had one last card to play, the close-range defense grid built into Earth's atmosphere itself. Activate atmospheric interceptors. Hidden platforms in Earth's upper atmosphere came online. These were the last line of defense, energy weapons powered by orbital solar collectors. They fired beams of concentrated light at the incoming missiles. 2. More missiles died in flashes of superheated metal and exotic matter. But the remaining 5 broke through the atmosphere, their alien shields absorbing the worst of the defensive fire. Jiho and Mira watched in horror from Luna Station as the 5 missiles streaked toward their targets. All of humanity's technology, all their planning and preparation, had only stopped 7 of the 12. The first missile hit Seoul. The city's underground shelters saved most of the population, but the surface was devastated. Buildings that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble in seconds. Mumbai's missile struck next, then Sao Paulo, Lagos, and Mexico City. Each impact sent shockwaves around the globe. In minutes, 12 million humans were dead. But something unexpected happened. Instead of panic and surrender, the human response was fury. Communication channels around the solar system filled with demands for revenge. Military units that had been in reserve suddenly volunteered for combat duty. Admiral Vexitar opened a communication channel to Earth, expecting to receive their surrender. His message was broadcast to every human settlement. In the solar system, primitive humans, you have seen the power of the Kethvar Empire. Your resistance was impressive but futile. Surrender now and serve the Empire willingly. You have 7 of your planetary rotations to decide. Refuse, and we will return with enough force to burn your world to ash. The channel stayed open, waiting for Earth's response. In the command center beneath Seoul, General Taewon Lee looked around at his staff. Despite the devastation above, despite the millions dead, every face showed the same expression: cold, determined anger. Taewon activated the communication system and spoke words that would be remembered for 1,000 years. Unknown alien fleet. This is General Taewon Lee of the Earth Defense Force. We have received your demonstration and your ultimatum. Here is humanity's response. Get the hell out of our solar system. You have 1 hour. The first shot of the war came from Lieutenant Junho Seo's fighter squadron. Using their quantum tunnel drives, the Wraithwing appeared inside the Kethvar formation like ghosts materializing from nothing. The aliens had no time to react. Junho's targeting computer locked onto the nearest alien ship. Wraith 1 to all wings. Weapons free. Let's show them what human pilots can do. His fighter unleashed a stream of kinetic rounds directly into the alien vessel's engine section. The bullets were small, but they moved so fast they punched through the alien armor like paper. Behind him, his squadron followed suit, striking at engines, weapon systems, and command centers. Admiral Vextar watched in shock as his carefully ordered formation erupted into chaos. Human fighters had appeared from nowhere, striking his ships, where they were most vulnerable. 3 of his destroyers were already crippled, their engines dead, their crews frantically trying to restore power. "How did they get past our sensors?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. Their technology appears to be different from what we expected." The human fighters vanished as quickly as they had appeared, using their quantum drives to jump away before the alien weapons could target them. But the damage was done. The Kethvar fleet's perfect formation was broken. That was when Admiral Jiho Kim's main fleet arrived. The UES Indomitable led 400 human warships in a coordinated assault that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans did not fight with the rigid formations and predictable tactics that other species used. Instead, they fought like a pack of wolves, coordinated but flexible, each ship supporting the others while pursuing its own objectives. "All ships, execute Plan Delta," Jiho ordered from his command bridge. "Remember, we're not trying to match their firepower, we're trying to outsmart it." Mira Park coordinated the attack from her position on the Indomitable. Her quantum communication network allowed the human fleet to react instantly to changing battle conditions. When alien ships moved to surround one group of human vessels, other groups would immediately move to help. "Alien heavy cruiser at coordinates 447221 is targeting our medical ships," she reported. "Sending Dragon Squadron to intercept." Dr. Yuna Choi's quantum scramblers proved their worth in the first minutes of battle. Human ships equipped with the devices moved close to alien vessels and activated them. Suddenly, Kethvar ships found themselves unable to communicate with each other or coordinate their attacks. "It's working," Yuna reported from her position in the Indomitable's science lab. "Their command structure is falling apart, they can't coordinate their defense." But the aliens adapted quickly. Admiral Vextar ordered his ships to switch to backup communication systems and began using flag signals transmitted by laser. The Kethvar had not conquered half the galaxy by being stupid. "Reform defensive positions," he commanded. "Focus fire on their largest ships. These humans may be clever, but they cannot match our firepower." The alien response was devastating. Kethvar battlecruisers turned their main guns on the human ships, firing beams of energy that could cut through anything. Several human vessels were destroyed in the first exchange, their crews dying as their ships broke apart. But instead of retreating, the human fleet pressed the attack. This was where human creativity showed itself most clearly. Instead of trying to survive the alien energy beams, human ships actively sought them out. "Ramming speed," ordered Captain Yule of the UES Defiant. His ship accelerated directly toward a Kethvar cruiser, taking hit after hit from the alien weapons. Just before his ship was destroyed, he activated the self-destruct system. The explosion tore through the alien cruiser's shields and hull, destroying both ships in a ball of nuclear fire. Across the battlefield, other human captains followed his example, turning their dying ships into weapons. "They're insane," shouted Vextar's tactical officer. "They're using their own ships as missiles." But the humans were not insane. They were desperate, and desperation made them dangerous in ways the aliens could not predict. Every human ship that died took at least one alien ship with it. Some took 2 or 3. Lieutenant Junho's fighters returned to the battle, appearing behind the alien fleet and targeting their supply ships. Without warning, the humans began attacking vessels that were not even fighting: fuel tankers, ammunition, carriers, command ships positioned safely behind the battle lines. "They're not following the rules of civilized warfare," protested Vextar's aide. "Then we will show them what uncivilized warfare looks like." Vextar replied grimly. "Target their medical ships. If they want to fight without honor, we will accommodate them." But when the alien weapons targeted human hospital ships, something unexpected happened. Instead of running, the medical vessels began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not surrender messages, but calls for more volunteers to replace the fallen crews. "This is Dr. Kim aboard the hospital ship Mercy," came one transmission. "We need more medical staff. Any volunteers, please report to Bay 7. We have wounded to save." The aliens could not understand it. In every other war they had fought, Targeting non-combatants caused panic and surrender. The humans seemed to become more determined the more they suffered. General Taiwan watched the battle from his command center on Earth. Reports showed that humanity was losing ships faster than the aliens, but they were also learning faster. Each destroyed human vessel provided data that was immediately shared with the surviving fleet. "Sir, we're receiving detailed scans of alien armor and shields," reported his intelligence officer. "The science teams are already developing new weapons based on this data. How long until we can deploy them?" 6 hours, sir." "Too long. Signal Admiral Kim. He needs to keep those aliens busy until we can even the odds." On the indomitable, Jiho received the message and smiled grimly. Keep the aliens busy for 6 hours while outnumbered and outgunned? It was exactly the kind of impossible mission that humans specialized in. "Mira, patch me through to all ships." "Channel open, Admiral." "All ships, this is Admiral Kim. I know the odds don't look good right now. The aliens have bigger ships, better weapons, and more experience. But they have one weakness: they don't understand us. Across the battlefield, human crews listen to their admiral's words while continuing to fight. They expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered. They expect us to follow their rules, use their tactics, think like them. But we're not like every other species. We're human. And humans don't just fight to win, we fight to protect what we love." A Kethvar battlecruiser exploded as human fighters swarmed over it like angry bees, each pilot willing to die to protect Earth. "So let's show these aliens what happens when they threaten our home. Let's show them why humanity doesn't surrender." The human fleet renewed their attack with desperate fury. Ships that should have retreated for repairs instead continued fighting until their hulls broke apart. Pilots who should have ejected from damaged fighters instead flew them into alien vessels. Crews who should have abandoned damaged ships instead found ways to keep fighting. Admiral Vextar realized he was no longer fighting a battle. He was fighting a force of nature. The humans seemed to become stronger the more damage they took, more dangerous the more desperate they became. "Admiral, we've lost 30% of our fleet," his aide reported. "Recommend we withdraw and request reinforcements." Vextar looked at the tactical display. He still had more ships than the humans, but they were scattered and damaged. Worse, his crews were beginning to show signs of fear. In 1,000 years of conquest, the Kethvar had never faced an enemy that seemed to welcome death as a weapon. Signal: "The fleet, prepare for withdrawal." But as his ships began to turn away from the battle, something happened that would change galactic history forever. The human fleet did not let them go. "All ships, pursue and destroy," came Admiral Kim's order. "They came to our home. They killed our people. They don't get to leave." The retreating alien fleet found itself being hunted by an enemy that refused to accept their withdrawal. Human ships that should have been celebrating victory instead chased the aliens deeper into space, determined to finish what the Kethvar had started. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vextar knew fear. 6 months after the first battle, the Kethvar Empire was collapsing. What had started as a routine demonstration against a primitive species had become the largest military disaster in galactic history. Admiral Jiho Kim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching yet another alien world celebrate its freedom. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender broadcasts from the Kethvar garrison," reported his communications officer. "They're requesting safe passage off-world." Jiho nodded. "Granted. Make sure they understand the terms. They leave all their weapons behind, and they never come back." This was the 15th world humanity had liberated in the past month. Each one followed the same pattern. Human ships would arrive. The local Kethvar forces would surrender without a fight, and the enslaved populations would begin rebuilding their civilizations. Word had spread throughout the galaxy about what happened to species that fought humans. It was better to surrender. Dr. Yuna Choi had become humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, a new organization formed by species freed from Kethvar rule. She spent her days in meetings with alien leaders who still couldn't quite believe what had happened. "The humans destroyed the Empire in 6 months, said the representative from Altair Prime, a insectoid species that had been enslaved for 3 centuries. "How is this possible?" "The Empire made a mistake," Yuna explained patiently. They thought humans were like every other species they had conquered. They thought we would fight to avoid losing. But humans don't fight to avoid losing. We fight to win. The difference was more important than it sounded. Every other species the Empire had faced fought defensively, trying to protect what they had. Humans fought offensively, trying to take what the enemy had. It was a completely different approach to warfare. Lieutenant Junho Seo, now promoted to colonel, commanded the Joint Species Defense Force. His pilots included humans, but also volunteers, from dozens of alien species who had learned human combat tactics. They called themselves the Liberation Fleet. The key is flexibility, he explained to a group of new alien pilots. The Empire taught you to fight in formations, to follow orders exactly, to never deviate from the plan. Forget all of that. Fight. Like humans, think fast, adapt constantly, and never give up. The alien pilots were eager students. After centuries of slavery, they wanted nothing more than to make sure no empire could ever conquer them again. Mira Park had become Earth's Secretary of Galactic Affairs, coordinating humanity's relationships with hundreds of alien species. Her office received a constant stream of requests for human military advisors, for human technology, for human help in rebuilding devastated worlds. We're not trying to build a human empire, she told each delegation that visited Earth. We're trying to make sure no one can build any empire. The galaxy belongs to all of us. It was a radical idea. For thousands of years, the galaxy had been ruled by empires, species that conquered others and forced them to serve. The humans were proposing something completely different, a galaxy where every species was free to develop on its own. General Taiwan Lee had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth's military forces. But instead of building more weapons, he was overseeing their reduction. With the Empire gone, humanity no longer needed the massive war machine they had built. Convert the battle cruisers to exploration ships, he ordered. Turn the weapons factories into manufacturing centers. We built all this to fight a war. Now that the war is over, let's build something better. The former HFY worlds were rebuilding with remarkable speed. Species that had been slaves for generations were rediscovering their own cultures, their own technologies, their own dreams. Human advisors helped where they could, but they were careful not to take control. The point is not to replace the Empire with human rule, Jiho explained to his officers. The point is to make sure no one rules anyone. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy with the new order. On the far edge of known space, scouts had detected signs of another empire, the Drakmar, hegemony. They had been watching the war between humans and the HFY, and they were not impressed by humanity's victory. The humans got lucky, declared Overlord Thexvon from his throne ship. The HFY were weak, complacent. They had grown soft from too many easy conquests. We will not make the same mistakes. The Drakmar began preparing for war. Their ships were larger than the HFY vessels, their weapons more powerful, their tactics more brutal. They had learned from watching the human-HFY conflict, and they believed they knew how to defeat humanity. But humans had been learning too. On a space station at the edge of the galaxy, representatives from dozens of species worked together on new technologies, new strategies, new ways of defending their freedom. The station was a symbol of the new galactic order, not controlled by any one species, but built and operated by all of them working together. Admiral, we're detecting long-range sensor sweeps from the Drakmar territory, reported a technician. They appear to be mapping our defensive positions. Jiho looked at the tactical display. The Drakmar Empire was huge, much larger than the HFY had been. Their territory included dozens of star systems and hundreds of worlds. If they decided to attack, it would be the largest war the galaxy had ever seen. Signal Earth and all. Member worlds, he ordered. Looks like we're going to have another teaching opportunity. Yuna received the alert in her office on Earth. She looked out her window at the city of Seoul, rebuilt and stronger than ever. Children played in parks, where missiles had once fallen. Humans and aliens worked side by side in laboratories and factories. It was everything they had fought to protect. Dr. Choi, what are your orders? Asked her aide. Yuna smiled. After 6 months of peace, she had almost forgotten what it felt like to face a threat. But as she watched human and alien children playing together, she remembered why the fight was worth it. "Send a message to the Drakmar hegemony," she said. "Tell them that the galaxy has changed. The Age of Empires is over. If they want to test that, we'll be happy to provide them with the same education we gave the Kethvar." Across the galaxy, the species that had once been slaves began preparing for war again. But this time they were not fighting alone. They had allies, they had human training, and they had something the empires could never understand: the knowledge that freedom was worth any price. Colonel Junho gathered his pilots for a briefing. The room was filled with humans and aliens, veterans of the war against the Kethvar and new recruits eager to defend their homes. "The Drakmar think they're different from the Kethvar," he told them. "They think they've learned from the empires. Mistakes. They think they know how to fight humans." He looked around the room at the faces of pilots from a dozen different worlds. They're wrong. They still think this is about species fighting species, empire against empire. They don't understand that this is about something bigger. This is about freedom fighting slavery. This is about the future fighting the past. In the back of the room, a young alien pilot raised her hand. "Colonel, what if they're stronger than the Kethvar were?" Junho grinned. "Then we'll have to get creative." Fortunately, humans are very good at getting creative. As reports continued to arrive about Drakmar military movements, the galaxy prepared for another war. But this time it would be different. This time it would not be an empire attacking scattered, defenseless worlds. This time, it would be a free galaxy standing united against those who would enslave it. On Earth, Admiral Jiho Kim stood in the Yao, same command center where General Taewon had first defied the Kethvar Empire. The walls were covered with messages from grateful species, with photographs of liberated worlds, with treaties establishing the new Galactic Alliance. "Sir, incoming message from Drakmar space," reported the communications officer. "Put it through." The image that appeared on the screen showed a creature that looked like a cross between a dragon and a machine. Its voice was cold and mechanical. "Humans of Earth, I am Overlord Thexvon of the Drakmar hegemony. Your destruction of the Kethvar Empire was impressive, but do not think it makes you our equals. We offer you one chance. Surrender your alliance, accept Drakmar rule, and your deaths will be quick." Jiho looked at the image for a long moment, then smiled. "Overlord Thexvon, this is Admiral Jiho Kim of the Galactic Alliance Defense Force. Thank you for your offer, but we'll have to decline. However, we have a counter-proposal." He leaned forward, his smile becoming cold as space. "Leave. Now. Take your ships, take your empire, and find somewhere else to play conqueror. Because if you attack any member of this alliance, you won't be fighting just one species. You'll be fighting all of us. And we've gotten very good at teaching bullies not to pick on smaller kids." The channel closed. Across the galaxy, hundreds of species received the message and began preparing their defenses. The Drakmar wanted a war. They would get one. But, this time, humanity wouldn't be fighting alone. This time they had an entire galaxy standing with them. And the galaxy had learned well from its human teachers.